Hi, I'm Blake Calhoun, the creator of the web series Pink and the sci-fi web series Continuum, and you're listening to GenreTainment Radio.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of GenreTainment over at sci-fi-pulse-radio.com. We're your hosts, Marks
and Julie. GenreTainment is where we talk about what's happening in the world of film, TV, and web series. We give you interviews with writers, directors, producers, and actors in both independent and not-so-independent creations. Now for this 95th episode, woohoo! We are speaking with filmmaker and actress Britain Valenti. She is the showrunner of the sci-fi series INTERROGATION, a dystopian science fiction series set in the year 2098. The series stands out partially because it stars women and has cast members who are disabled actors portraying disabled characters.
She shares with us how this series went from concept to a completed season 1. She also talks about funny stories from set, gives advice for web series creators, and much more.
Now, before we get started with the interview, we should point out that the music you just heard at the beginning of the show was a snippet from the theme song for our web series, Reality on Demand. It was a song composed and performed by our friend Tishan Hardy. You can find our web series at realityondemandseries.com. Now let's get started with our interview with web series creator Britain Valenti.
Bitch, please. I thought you was a baller. Alright. I thought you was a baller, that you couldn't get much taller, that you were the king like Lala. Now you're sitting here and squalor lower than the euro dollar, baller. Yeah, baller.
Well, hi, Britain. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Marks.
Now you're the showrunner, writer, and star of the sci-fi web series INTERROGATION. Or you have called the series like 1984 meets V for Vendetta.
Woohoo! Both very good things, by the way.
Yeah, and socially conscious with most of the lead characters being women.
Woohoo again.
And disabled actors playing disabled characters.
Woohoo!
So can you tell our audience a little bit more about the show, what it's about, and why you decided to take the strong focus on being socially conscious?
I'll take the socially conscious question. Basically, we're on the internet. We probably read a lot of the same articles that are all lamenting the lack of diversity on film, and even, women, which,
yes,
50% of the population. And the reasons that Hollywood gives you for there not being a lot of diversity are really bullshitty, is the best way. It's the best way I can put it, because there's really no reason. Like, look around outside. There are all different people, all different races, all different sexes, just walking around, no shame, going to jobs with you, working alongside you, with you at the restaurants. Mm-hmm. It seems like it takes more effort to not cast people like women, like African Americans, like Spanish people. It takes more effort not to do that when there are so many great actors. And so that was really sort of the inspiration for the series was, I love sci-fi. I was raised on sci-fi and action. But also just to show that it's not difficult. It's not strange. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to have reasons for there being a large diversity on screen. You don't have to make excuses for it. You can just write it naturally.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when you think about it, because, it seems to be the default is straight white male. And then they feel like they have to give some sort of explanation. Well, this character is here and is black, but that's because they did it. And it's just kind of like, really? You have Hispanic actors playing non-Hispanic characters, having to act quote unquote white. And then you have gay actors having to play straight. And it was like, so why is that really always the default?
Or you have gay characters who are just portrayed badly and not interesting characters.
Yeah.
Or you have disabled characters whose their core purpose in life, their core defining attribute is that they use a wheelchair.
And really it's just like they're a human being like everyone else, they just move around differently.
That's right. It's the equivalent of defining a character based on the fact that they use a car. It's just a vehicle. It's just a vehicle that this character uses. And it can give them added frustrations. It can help define who they are. The reason they're in a wheelchair, if there is a reason, can be a story. But it's not, the reason they get up every morning is not, wheelchair time. I like So INTERROGATION, sci-fi web series, is about, it's a pretty pretty standard sci-fi story. There's a totalitarian government that's ruling and ruining the lives of everyday citizens, but there is a rebellion brewing. And this rebellion is gaining and gaining more momentum, and the series focuses on this one subset group that specializes in interrogation. So what they do is they're the team that you call when you need to break into a government building, grab somebody, and then tie him into a chair and get essential information.
That's good. And, that is interesting, though, because you think in a totalitarian governments don't tend to think too highly of most minorities and disabled citizens. So it makes sense. They would be very integral in the rebellion.
They are, but I think I went at it from a different perspective, because when you typically see future stories, corrupt governments, all this, there's a real sort of witch hunt to kill everyone who isn't physically perfect or who is different. And you see that a lot in V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
But I think also totalitarian governments, like if you look how when Russia was a real, balls to the wall communist state.
USSR, yeah.
USSR, thank you. When the USSR was a real.
They're making a comeback.
Yeah, apparently.
I know, it's really funny.
Part 2.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, it worked out so well the first time. Okay, sorry.
But so when the USSR was really balls to the wall communism, there was a big push to have everyone working. Like, if you could work, they wanted you out there working. Yeah. And so what I think is honestly going to be a more reasonable view of the future is that, let's say that all of the ecological factors compound. So you're going to have more people born with just natural disabilities. Some people born with strange hands, some people born with some mental, not defects, but some mental differences. It would be a real waste of a workforce to just get rid of those people.
Right.
When you could just adapt some workplaces or some time schedules or some environments to just use what they were good at. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're in the future and there's a war going on, which there is, you're going to have a lot more people who come back from war with, limbs blown off. Mm-hmm. And again, why get rid of these highly trained soldiers? Why get rid of these war-minded personnel when you can retrain them or, get them into another job? That's what we tried to do with the series. Because when you watch the series, you'll see the government has people who are disabled working for them. We also have people who are disabled working for the rebellion side. And it's just this idea that no matter what, you're going to have a job. You're probably not going to like the job you have. Maybe it's not going to be a great job.
Well, hey,
but
that's America. Sorry.
Right. No one's going to be at home just sitting there. You're going to have to work in the society in some capacity.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting take.
And as technology improves, physical disabilities are really not as big of a deal anymore.
And really, we're finding what we considered mental disabilities are less disabling and limiting than they once were. I mean, there's now, they've created a font that helps with dyslexia, for crying out loud. Not to diminish challenges, but I'm just saying that, it's certainly better than it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, and some mental differences are a gift.
Yeah.
And some mental are a gift in one area, a hindrance in another. Some problems, can be rectified if you just make the room a little darker and make it a quiet environment. Yeah. Some people can work a lot more effectively. And in the future, I think if your interest is really as a totalitarian government to get everybody doing something, they'll make those changes with a lot less problem. It won't be this big rigmarole. They'll just do it and put all the people who want to work in the dark. Who want to work in isolation chambers? Bam, go work in them. Just go work.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your background, how you got involved in filmmaking and what led you to Interrogation.
I'm a writer. I've been writing since I was about 15. I got my start basically as a self-taught playwright. And then I got into Carnegie Mellon to get a master's in dramatic writing, which is a dual master's degree in playwriting, screenwriting, and TV writing. Mm-hmm. And immediately after I got that, I was faced with, I think, everyone's decision. Well, do you go to New York or do you go to Los Angeles? And if you go to New York, you're going to do theater,
Yeah.
and you're probably not going to make any money, and it's going to be freezing cold. And food's going to be expensive. And when I saw that, I was like, I basically walked into a New York grocery store and was like, oh no. If I'm going to be a starving artist.
Why starve
I'm at
where you
least-
can freeze to death?
That's right. If I'm going to be a starving artist, at least it's going to be warm. So, and the good thing is, if you want to pursue screenwriting, first of all, if you want to pursue playwriting and theater, go do that. Definitely. If that's the only thing that feeds you, don't let anyone make you feel bad about it. But if you want to do screenwriting, you can honestly work screenwriting odd jobs in LA and in theory get paid for it. Or you can write a screenplay that will sell somewhere, as opposed to you can write a play and it will probably sell nowhere, even if someone puts it on.
Boy, harsh realities.
And if you don't want to be an artist, go do that. No shame in not being an artist.
I read somewhere that that the group you act with, do films with, did Interrogation with, that you guys used to shoot like a movie every 6 weeks or something like that until you guys decided to do a web series. I'm just kind of curious to learn a little bit more about that group, how you guys got together, and how that was working.
Okay. The second person that I met in Los Angeles, the second day I was here, was the actress who plays Lana. So Mallory K. Nelson, who our one-legged actress. And through her, I found a small corner of the disabled actor community in Los Angeles. And they all know each other. And it's a pretty small community. Not small, but tight-knit. Mm-hmm. And so once I saw through them the range of talent that was available, it was almost like stumbling on a gold mine, because it was like, oh my gosh, look at these great actors with these interesting bodies. Like who doesn't want to put that on screen? So I wanted to write a web series that embraced sci-fi, embraced diversity, and of course the disabled community is a big aspect of diversity that you don't really see a lot of. Okay. Once I found the actors, though, I was like, oh, well, let's start writing roles for people. Chop, chop.
That's great. And why web series versus like a more traditional story structure like film?
I think honestly, it's the money, really. You can shoot a web series for so much less than you can shoot a film. You can shoot a film for pretty cheap, but especially when you're doing sci-fi, the production values are always going to be a factor. Mm-hmm. And with a web series, the stories could be small enough that we could put them in a small room and it didn't look weird. Like if you're trying to tell this big sweeping epic like Dune, and you're in a bunch of people's living rooms, it's not going to work. But we're stories about grabbing someone, throwing to a chair, and getting them to tell you essential information. That's sort of a small, tight, claustrophobic story that really fits with a web series.
So how did the concept as the primary kind of structure of the story being these interrogations, come about? And was it originally going to be a web series, or when you started to create it, you go, well, you know what, this might work as a web series?
We created the first episode, and the first episode is sort of the black sheep because it's in 2 parts. Basically, I think it's how a lot of web series get started. I wrote a short film. Mm-hmm. Everyone liked their characters. Everyone wanted to play them some more. And we said, we think there's enough fodder here for a web series. So, wrote 6 more episodes. Darn it, I can't remember how many there are now.
There's 7 episodes, season 1.
Bam. I did the math. Yeah.
So this is your first web series, I'm assuming. So what kind of challenges, perhaps unexpected challenges, that you faced going into this story structure versus maybe short films or films?
I didn't have a problem with structure writing it. If you want to know some of the pitfalls of starting a web series and the stuff you really don't foresee, I will say we shot the web series more like a TV show, which is that we have a different director every episode. Mm-hmm. And logistics of trying to wrangle like 15 people to shoot over the course of 2 months, because we've made this entire web series in about a year. Mm-hmm. Like we filmed it in November, and then we were done by December.
Wow.
of the next year. And that is a really fast turnaround for when you watch a series of this scope. And so logistics are always a problem. If I was going to give advice to anyone who wants to start a web series, it's never really over. It just isn't. Like right now, we're trying to get the cast and crew together because we want to film shorts. Mm-hmm. And that's just sort of the nature of the internet, because if anyone wants to look up Interrogation sci-fi web series, they'll look and they'll be like, oh, this has been up for a year. I wonder why they haven't done anything else. And it's almost, if you're not constantly putting out a little bit more, it doesn't have to be a lot, but if you're not constantly producing new content, I think maybe they tend to think of it as like a failure, or it wasn't popular enough, or you've lost interest in it. And so you really have to budget your time and budget your story to try to fit in more things, because you really have to keep generating content.
Yeah, that is a tough challenge.
Yeah.
Versus doing a film, because you come out with the film and nobody expects you to come out with other content before the sequel if you do a sequel,
Yeah.
But they do feel like they need to be constantly out there for web series. Makes it.
I think people underestimate what all goes into making a web series, I think, but each episode's only 5 minutes long. It's like, well, yeah, but you don't film each episode and only film 5 minutes, and then it's you film it like you do a movie, basically.
Yeah, and it can be as much. It can be an 18-hour day. Mm-hmm. It can be 8-hour days. You can, for episode 3, there's a wheelchair chase scene, and wouldn't you know it, we rented a really big, powerful, as it says in the script, a fuck all wheelchair, and it was an hour and a half late being delivered.
Oh.
So there goes an hour and a half of the day. Just people sitting around waiting for this wheelchair to show up.
Oh, man.
And there's nothing you can do about it, really.
There isn't. You just, I was going to say you just have to roll with it. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I know, we need to add some. Oh, wow.
So we talked a little bit about how a lot of the characters are racially diverse, female.
Pretty sad when you're 50% of the population, you still have to be considered part of diversity, but it's true.
So
actually, we're 51% of the world's population.
I know, right?
No, 49ers.
So let's talk a little bit about those characters. Can you tell us who the lead characters are and the actors that play them?
Yes.
I play the lead, and I'm always a little ashamed to say that.
No. You know what? If you can't be the lead in something that you've created, then, what?
You said lead. You didn't go, I am the star.
I am the star. I am the only one that matters. Then we would have a second thoughts about
You could have said, what? There are other actors?
There's other actors? What?
No, I will say one of the things that keeps you humble is I'm Italian. I cook for everybody all the time. I did crafty for every shoot.
I did it for most of ours too.
It's great, but nothing keeps you humbler than like having your moment where you've got to act and really connect with the other performer, and then they yell cut, and you immediately run up and run to the crock pot to check if your pulled pork is turning.
Yeah, did you find that for me, I was more nervous about what people would think of my food than I was about anything in my performance. Like I didn't get nervous before doing a scene or anything, but I was a nervous wreck about what people would think of my food.
Every damn day.
Okay, thank God.
Every day.
I'm trying to come up with all kinds of interesting things, because we didn't have a lot of money, so I had to make lentils and quinoa and rice and beans and stuff really work.
This is what people should know about making a web series, but I was on food stamps at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I would use my food stamps for the month to feed 15 people, and I would live on $20 or $30 worth of food.
Oh, they should feed you the rest of the month.
No, it's fine, because that's the thing. It's a web series. Everybody's working for free. Everybody's working out of the kindness of their heart and the desire to work. It was just, I would tell them all the time, you guys are actors, and they're real actors. They're not like me. Like, you guys are real actors. You should not have to worry about what you're eating. You should not have to worry about location. You should not have to worry about dressing the set. You should just worry about your characters. And they did, and I think you can see that.
Yeah.
But let's get back. So I play the lead. I play Brayson. You follow her arc, I think, the most over the series. She's a little off-kilter, but she's one of those leaders who maybe shouldn't be leader, but darn it, she's just so darn good at her job. No one else can replace her. Her talent is basically she's the lead interrogator, and she's the one who can always, no matter the situation, get the information that they need. And often that falls into by any means necessary, and she's not above the use of violence. Some of the other characters are Hallie Rapp plays Anders, who's sort of the more emotional center of the group. She's also like our crack breaking and entering person. She can get into any government facility, overcome any security system. We have a character called Tiger, who's basically the strong, silent type. And these are the 3 characters I've named. They're all women. Basically, I looked back and I said, okay, what are some of the archetypes that you always see in a team? And there's always the smart ass. There's always the strong but silent type. There's always like the person who tells terrible jokes. There's the tech guy. And when you look at an interrogation sci-fi web series, you're going to see that. Only 4 out of 6 of them are girls. Our other disabled actor is Scott Rosendahl, and he plays Mikey, who's our tech expert. And then our newbie is Jake Lane Bassey, and he plays Darren, who all of the other interrogation members were basically at one point a part of the government. And so they're highly trained, ex-government soldiers. Darren is sort of the newbie. He was born outside of the government system. His parents were basically refugees from the government, but he really wants to fight. So he sort of comes on as their mascot. And they're basically teaching him the ropes in the event that something goes horribly wrong. And one of them dies. And they need to be replaced. And then rounding out the cast, as I believe that's all 6, is Mallory K. Nelson. She plays Lana, who is our ballistics expert and has a giant crutch gun in place of one of her legs. So.
Oh, cool.
Seeing Lana just reminded me. I think I read somewhere that you said Archer helped influence you a little bit.
Love Archer.
Yeah, definitely. I love Archer because Archer is, I think, the quintessential male character. Because he is. He drinks too much, he loves sex, he loves cursing, he basically doesn't take his job any sort of serious, but he is the best at his job. And I think that's a role that men get to play all the time, perpetually. They always get to play that really fun role. And women get stuck playing Lana, who is also very good at her job, but she's always kind of second best, and her whole life is really dedicated to taking care of Archer.
Because he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for her.
That's right, and she gets no thanks. She never really ends up on top. And just like, it's just a character, like every day her alarm goes off and she's like, oh, I gotta go and watch after this dick. Like that's her whole life. And that's a role that women get stuck playing all the time. So Brayson is very much Archer. And there's not a lot of Lanas running around. But there's a character named Lana.
That's cool. I love it because it's just like, it's just so wrong. Like, I mean, it's just like the most politically incorrect, crude, and funny as hell. Like they're not trying to avoid offending anyone. It's just crazy.
That's sort of what we tried to do to a certain extent, because that's the other thing. I like that irreverent dick piss, I like that irreverent humor. I love Quentin Tarantino. I love his use of dialogue. So we try to channel that, especially in our use of violence. Like, violence is fun on screen. Yeah. So we embrace it as well.
Yeah, and it's nice, it's like, yes, we're women, and we're not gonna like try to go, well, she's a woman. Oh, that guy's the one in the wheelchair. It's like, Hey, we are who we are, and we're not going to apologize for it, and you don't whisper about it. You just go about your life.
Yeah, there's no like moment where someone's like, why is this team full of women? And we have to say, well, women are just as capable. It's like, no. No, like anytime. Yeah, like that's what we tried to do. We tried to create a world where it just is. Like women just had, like, you know, totalitarian government. They want everybody working. Women are accepted into the military. Bam. That's it. If you can be in the military, you're in the military. Bam.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we find that during filmmaking, of course, things don't go right.
No, everything always goes according to plan while filming. I couldn't say it with a straight face.
But
if it isn't, you're doing something wrong.
But sometimes they're funny, or at least they're funny later.
Oh, there are? Usually they're funny later.
Is there any?
Are there any funny stories from set? Is what we're getting at.
Yeah, sure. Let me see. I told you about the wheelchair. I'm trying to think. There are just so many moments that sort of blend together. And some of our disabled actors are extremely sensitive to heat. Mm-hmm. Of course, we're in California.
And you're in LA.
Of course, we're shooting in the summer. Of course, we're shooting in a warehouse.
Oh.
And of course, the air conditioning can't be on because we're recording sound. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So there would be moments where you would just look over, and, you know, we're filming in one corner of the room. You know, several lights making an oven. So you would just look over at some points, and there Mallory would be just spread out on the ground, flat on her back, just like absorbing the coolness on the warehouse floor. And it would just be like, well, someone start fanning her. Okay. So like we just take turns, just like, all right. Oh, we have a great PA who eventually moved up to assistant director, who worked with us, who's a dear friend. And one of our actors didn't know his name. He was showing up on set, working hard, not on screen, every shoot. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And they just didn't know his name.
That's so Hollywood.
It's so Hollywood. And they were very grateful. They loved being around him. They loved talking to him. Had no clue what to call him. So they just picked the name that looked to them most like this guy.
Oh my gosh.
So I called him his name, which is David. And everyone else, well, the person started calling him the name she thought he looked like, which is Peter. So it would just be like, Peter, come here. Peter, can you grab that for me? Hey, Peter. And it started causing some confusion because eventually I would be like, who are you talking to? David? Oh, is he David? I thought he looked like a Peter. And then it didn't stop. So now he's still friends with a lot of us. Like, we still talk to him and everything. And it really is, you have to ask whether you're talking about David or Peter.
You should just call him Peter David.
There you go.
His last initial is a P.
Oh.
So he could very well be David Peter if he wanted. So yeah, there's a lot of great stories. There's a lot of sad stories. This isn't a sad story, now that I've mentioned sad stories, but there's a part in the wheelchair chase scene where basically the way they stop this crazy wheelchair is someone dives and rips out some wires. Well, we finally got the footage back. So think of what went into filming. Mm-hmm. We rented a warehouse. We got our actors. We got a warehouse. We rented a wheelchair. We put fake wires and everything in the back of the wheelchair. We finally get into editing, and none of the shots we need to do the shot as written are there.
Oh, no.
And it's not that they're not there, it's that they're not readable. Like, they're not reading. What we need this shot of the back of the wheelchair to do, what we need this person reaching for it to do, is just not happening. Mm-hmm. And so me and my boyfriend, my partner, the director of episode 6, and the DP of the whole series, my boyfriend Patrick, he and I sat there and literally went through every shot and cobbled together like a sequence for how the wheelchair gets broken. Just like it's basically someone gave you a bunch of stock footage and said, here, make this wheelchair break. Make someone stop it. And darn it, we cobbled it together, and you can't tell. Now you'll look at it. Now you'll look for it, but I still think you can't tell that that's cobbled together shots. I would suggest that everyone, if you want to learn a lot about filmmaking, if you want to learn a lot about story and how sets work, go make a web series. Maybe just make a cheap one.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, for sure.
Dang, Skippy. When you watch the series, you're going to see panels on the walls. You're going to see the wheelchair, which has this thing attached. You're going to see a big computer setup. Mm-hmm. Most of that stuff, the things that you push buttons on, the things that are alarms and whatever, that's stuff that I had to make. Mm-hmm. It was just born out of, hey, look, someone's throwing out their TV. Grab it.
Oh, yeah. You go through the alleyways in a city. I mean, you can furnish a whole apartment for starters, and then you can just find anything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think once we found the mother load, someone like threw out 3 printers, and it was like, grab them all.
Yeah.
We grabbed it, we took them apart, we repurposed the panels, we went to like a basic hardware junk store and got, phone panels, slapped them on with super glue, and the effect looks really good, I think.
Yeah.
It looks like, sort of the cobbled together. If you're a rebel and you have to make your own stuff, it sort of looks like that.
Yeah.
We're going to make our own stuff aspect. Yeah.
So you've given a lot of good advice towards people who are either early web series creators or thinking about becoming a web series creator. Is there any other big tips you would give them?
The biggest obstacle to having a web series right now, I think everyone would really say this, is visibility, getting people to actually watch it. And there are things you can do to make it more watchable. You can make the videos shorter. You can make them comedy series, all that. But if you aren't interested in comedy series, if you aren't interested in nerd culture and you just really want to make a very lovely, sensitive analysis of a lesbian couple breaking up, which is a web series, but I can't remember the name right now. Don't let that stop you. Do it. Just know that, again, this is web content and it's never really going to stop. So you're going to have to be your own publicist. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to solicit GenreTainment, Snobby Robot, bloggers, etc. You're going to have to bother them. Mm-hmm. Not bother, but you're going to have a press.
We are so bothered right now.
Oh my God, we felt so pressured. Oh my God.
I finally wore you down. Yeah.
We finally had to pencil you into the schedule.
See, it works, everybody. But that's the thing, you're going to have to send them an email and not hear back for 2 weeks. And then send them another email and maybe hear back. And then not hear back for 3 weeks and send them another email. You're going to have to be diligent. And you're going to think, oh, I'm just bothering them, I'm just pestering them. Until someone tells you you're pestering them, you're not.
Right.
You just have to be diligent. It's just like and believe me, I'm not a natural publicist. I don't like doing it. It's very time consuming. It's very nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. It's very boring to write the same email 15 billion times. But it's the nature. If you don't want to do that, you don't want to make films. Like, it's that easy, because that is the nature of the landscape right now, is you have to be your own advocate, and you have to advocate super hard. And honestly, if you look at Interrogation, for as few views as we don't have millions of views, but if you look, we have a lot of press. Mm-hmm. We are on like 6 or 7. We have like 6 or 7 articles written about us. We're on Snobby Robot. We were featured in Paper Droids. We were featured on Sci-Fi Net. Our name is out there. What we do is out there. Mm-hmm. And if you want the same success, you can't just make a great product. You're gonna have to put some legs on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
In film school, they don't really teach you social media marketing or anything about marketing, because they're trying to train you to be good at one thing only in the traditional machine of Hollywood.
Yeah, film.
But if you're going to do independent or anything, you just don't have that
you need
option.
Some serious cross-training.
Yeah.
You do, but honestly, I never went to film school.
Yeah.
And I certainly never went to school for marketing.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it is you can just do it from your email.
Yeah, you can learn on the job.
You can learn on the job. You can make your own press kit, or you can give someone $100, like I did, and have them make you a 15-page press kit. And that thing, everything you need to know about us, you could write an incomplete article from it. You know, it's out there.
Yep.
Basically, be your own advocate.
Yeah.
Great. Any other tips before we go?
Watch Interrogation, a sci-fi web series.
Excellent.
I was going to ask you that. Where can they find you and the show online?
You can find me. I'm the only one with my name on Facebook. My name is Britain Valenti. Britain like the country, Valenti like an Italian.
That actually works when you say it. I can picture it now.
You can find me on Twitter at BrittonV. That's me. I'd love to talk Star Wars with anybody.
Ooh, okay.
You can just Google Interrogation Sci-Fi into Google, Interrogation a Sci-Fi web series, or Interrogation Sci-Fi into YouTube, and find us and like us. Because we like you.
And that's where you're primarily at, is on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, we're primarily on YouTube.
Okay. Now, are there any other projects you'd like to mention?
I'm working with some friends on creating a comedy noir. So looking for that. We're actually going to be, we really like the world of interrogation. That's one of the things we always get commended on, is the world of interrogation. We're actually going to be having an ebook competition. So basically, we're going to give some prompts, and anyone who wants to can enter.
Oh, cool.
And it's basically, we're going to compile a series of short stories, sort of like an oral history of how the world came to be in interrogation. So people can like us on Twitter, like us on Facebook for more information on that. Because the way we're going to do it, a lot of short story competitions just try to, the winner's going to get $250 after you pay a $25 submission fee, which is bullcrap. So it's going to be free to enter, and the 10 winners are going to split profits from the book.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you know that.
Maybe I'll send something in.
So please like us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter for more information about how you can submit to our ebook, because we're going to get our website up, and it's going to have all the information from that. And it should be a really fun writing exercise, because I started as just writing short stories. And
really the exposure as a writer is more valuable than the money. So
people say that. Don't listen to this woman. Get paid for your art.
Well, get paid, but people do love having people read what they actually wrote.
Oh no, absolutely. And it is also really douchey when you're looking through and they're like, 10,000 people submitted, $50 per submission, and we paid the winner $500.
Yeah,
it's like,
really.
You're a con artist.
Yeah.
And everyone should be angry.
Yeah, there are definitely unscrupulous.
Many unscrupulous, but we believe that because it's the same thing with our web series. Nobody paid us. They worked for free, but no one had to shell out any of their own money. We even tried to give people gas money whenever we could. We fed people because they were giving us their talent. It should at least not cost you anything.
Yeah, I've done some acting, and there are a couple times I got annoyed. I had to go buy clothes, and I was just kind of like, really? Like, you're not paying me. And now I have to go buy clothes because I don't have anything in my wardrobe that would go at all, with this character, because I get cast for these characters that do not wear anything remotely like what I wear. So, now you
have a new wardrobe.
I do. I have my these aren't really me clothes, but you never know. You might need them.
I have lies in my closet now. Thank you.
Yes, I do. Well, I got cast as a psychic gypsy fortune teller, and I was told I've got like 17 outfits you can choose from for that.
Yeah.
It's got a gypsy look sometimes, is what she's trying to say.
Look.
All right, well, it's been great speaking with you today. I hope everybody checks out Interrogation.
It was great to meet you guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
My name is Chris Stone. I'm the creator of Blood and Bone China, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Well, thanks to Britain for the fun interview. If Interrogation sounds like a show you would like, be sure to check it out. And in the show notes, we'll have all of the links mentioned in the episode.
Now we continue on towards episode 100. We're lining up more guests and hope to make episode 100 a little special.
Hopefully, yeah. Now, before we go, we want to remind you that you can keep track of us on our GenreTainment Facebook page, Marx's Twitter account, which is @MrMarx, our website at GenreTainment.com, or all of the shows at SciFiPulseRadio.com.
So that's it for today's GenreTainment. We'll be back soon with all new guests from our favorite films, TV shows, novels, and web series.
GenreTainment is a production of Alien Jungle Bug Productions.
Until next time.
Bad monkey.